Happy National Penguin Day, duelists! It is I, Hellgear, and this Penguin deck profile is for the common charity format. Well, if there's any deck that hasn't really been hurt too much by this format where you use only common cards in the deck, it is this one. So what's the difference between main and common charity format Penguins? Well, main format Penguins are a sleeper tier control deck, but in the common charity, because we don't have as many good cards in the shiny variation, they go full on beatdown. So, show the Penguins some love on National Penguin Day with a like, and be sure to comment and sub and bell for the comment section below, as there's more deck profiles on the way. And leave your thoughts. So this time around, we're going to begin with 3 Bolt Penguins. Now I know what you're thinking, because you've seen a couple of my Penguin decks. Why are you using this over the Flying Penguin? It's true. The Flying Penguin is a common card. However, we don't have those great level 7 synchro options in common print. Well, the only one that I have is Black Rose Dragon, and it's counterintuitive to yeah, nuking the board is counterintuitive in a Penguin deck. Also, if you've been paying attention to that Albaz structure deck that's come out, and this is another reason why I'm playing Bolt Penguin, the Albaz structure deck made a common print of the Floodgate, there can be only one. And while, like Flying Penguin, the majority of the Penguin monsters are Aqua, Bolt Penguin is Thunder. So if you do get hit with that Floodgate, you have options of getting 2 Penguins out on the field. Now normally, I wouldn't play Genyx Undying in a Penguin deck. I didn't even do it before. But the reason for that is you Foolish Burial a water monster. But just like Gamma, Genyx Undying comes with the brick in Genyx Controller. And that's the main reason in regular format I don't play Genyx Undying in Controller. If you don't want to play these, you can always use Ice Jade Acti and then use another card for a tuner like the level 2 Force Resonator, excuse me. Three of the Squire. Now in common charity format, you have to max out on this guy, whereas in the regular format, you can get away with just 2. If you have a monster face down, you can special summon this card from your hand, then lower its level to 4 or 3. Once per turn, you can flip one face down monster you control face up, and if it's not a Penguin, that effect is negated. Each effect is once per turn. Since the Penguin Soldier is our primary synchro summoning tuner, we have to max out on this. And just remember, you can only sync into water monsters using this Penguin. I run 2 Squire and 2 Ninja. Speaking of monsters face down that you can flip face up, the Penguin Soldier and Penguin Ninja are your really decent forms of disruption in this deck. Their flip effects lets you target up to 2 monsters and bounce them with Soldier, or in Ninja's case, bouncing 2 back row. And then once per turn, Penguin Ninja can also flip a monster face down. Now, I run the 1 Nightmare Penguin in this deck. The main reason I run this is because Glacial Beast Polar Penguin is the only Penguin card that is not in common. It's a secret rare, and unfortunately is a tuner that also bounces. So Nightmare Penguin is the only level 4 Penguin currently ran in this deck. When it's flipped, it bounces a card on the field. And unlike the soldier and ninja, does not target. These flip effects work very well with our Cold and Savior No Penguin, where any penguin effect that bounces a card will banish it while it's on the field. Also keep in mind one thing as you play our Cold and Savior. Once per turn, when the penguin effect activates and it's in the graveyard, it revives itself from the graveyard. This graveyard revival is not optional. This is a mandatory chain block. You do not get a say in this. So, if you are hit with there can be only one, when this happens, no penguin's effect activates, but it does not special summon itself from the graveyard. Unless, of course, one of the other penguins you have on your field is Bolt Penguin. I run 2 of the Great Emperor Penguin in this build. And in the regular build, he still does what he does best. Tribute himself to pull out 2 other penguin monsters from your deck. You still only need 1 puny penguin for the penguin deck, and that's perfectly fine. After it's flipped up and sent to the graveyard, you can revive a penguin monster in face-up attack or face-down defense position. And rounding out the penguins is the cleric. The hand effect I never ever have used in all of my times running 1 penguin cleric. But boosting a penguin's attack points to 600 and then gaining 600 life is the effect that you will use the most.
I got common ash blossom, yeah, 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 yeah. I got common call by the grave, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, common call by the grave was short printed in Flames of Destruction. So if you've got any of those, you're in good straits. Even though this teasing is kind of less counterintuitive because Call by the Grave is also a common in the Albat Structure deck. Moving along, we have our Foolish Burial to get our Cold and Savior. No penguin that's Cold and Savior. For you religious types out there. 2 unexpected die to shoot the Bolt Penguin from the deck when we control no monsters once per turn. Hey, I'm in the middle of something. Could you please wait?
Yeah, later.
Royal Penguin's Garden is still a 2 of. It will always be a 2 of in my penguin decks. 3 is still clutter. Being able to rota a penguin card on activation besides itself is a wonderful thing. And then being able to lower the level of a penguin in your hand by 1 or on the field and then discarding a card works very well. It works very well with Water Hazard as a sweet combination tool with the Great Emperor Penguin. Once per turn, if you control no monsters, Water Hazard lets you special summon a level 4 lower water monster from your hand. It's Call of the Mummy for water decks. So, you can use Royal Penguin's Garden in combination with the Great Emperor Penguin. Lower its level by 1, special summon it to the field with Water Hazard, then tribute it to gain 2 more penguins so you don't have to burn through your normal summon. Two more A of Greed because I don't want to use my common Pot of Extravagance in this build. We know the usual suspect in Monster Reborn. And Surface is just another revival spell for your level 3 and lower aqua monsters. And since the majority of the penguins are level 3, special summoning them from your graveyard in defense position is no slouch. 2 Books of Moon, because you can always flip your own penguin soldiers and Nightmare Penguin face down to use their effects again. And 2 Fury of Kairyushin, which can Rhoda Torrential Tribute. And when you play Torrential Tribute, you can banish Fury of Kairyushin to keep your water monsters on deck. Rounding out the main deck are the 2 Paleo Dynamicious, because Dynamicious is still really good. Good. Extra deck game duelists. We maxed out on 3 Penguin Champs, so of course we gotta max out on 3 Penguin Braves. When synchro summon, you special summon a monster. Well, a penguin monster face down. Now, someone asked me in my communities, how would this work with Puny Penguin? And I want to talk about that right now before I move on. Anyways, if your opponent activates a monster effect at a quick effect timing, you can flip up a face-up monster, water monster that you control, which is a good way to interrupt and bounce on your opponent's field. And your face-down monsters are protected by Penguin Brave. Now, one of the things you have to talk about, of course, are the effects of using Puny Penguin and Penguin Squire. This is one of your main ways to synchro summon into Penguin Brave. Now, if you've used Squire's effect to flip your face-down Puny Penguin face-up and you synchro summon into Brave, what happens is Brave's effect activates, but Puny's effect misses timing. The reason why Puny's effect misses timing is because Puny's effect says when the card is sent to the graveyard and not if the card is sent to the graveyard, as Penguin Brave's effect says if it is synchro summoned. Remember, our instruction booklets told us about this situation of if versus when. So, Blue Eyes may not miss timing when you use these 2 to sync into for Penguin Brave, but Puny Penguin does indeed miss timing. So keep that in mind. As you saw, I have Genex Controller and Ash Blossom in this deck as non-water tuners. So you can use any of them to synchro summon into Desert Locust and get our Golden Savior No Penguin into the graveyard. Or if you were somebody like me and you had to summon an Ash Blossom, you can pull out Scrap Dragon. Scrap Dragon reminds me so much of PK Breaksword because he targets a card on both field and blasts them. This can give you some extra damage when you need to. And then of course, if you don't want to use your Genex Controller, which is a Dark Tuner, for Scrap Dragon, you can always go into BLs and Beelzes just for those problematic issues. Soldiers are level 2 monsters, just as Paleo Dynamicious, so Onibimaru the Soul Sweeper can be used in that. It banishes a card, it banishes once per turn. Turn on a detach until your opponent's end phase. If this card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, target banish monsters up to the number of materials this card had and shuffle them into the deck. So, in addition to detaching from this to banish a problem for a turn, If it's whacked, shuffled banished cards go back into their owner's decks. I have a common copy of number 17, Leviathan Dragon. And the funny thing is, this works very well with Penguin Beatdown. Detach to increase its attack by 500, but it can't attack directly if it has no material. 2,500 extra damage on a turn is a wonderful thing. And I needed some rank 3 outlets to go into my Penguins. So between that and Virtual World Jaja, we've got some really decent stuff. And Virtual World Jaja is like Bagooska for this deck. You detach and one monster you target can't be destroyed by battle for the turn. That can save your butt if you need to. And of course I have 2 Miss Starboys. I want to originally have 3 of these, but if I have to take out a 3rd Miss Starboy from one of my other water decks, which is common print. So the deck profile does call for 3 Miss Starboy. I only have 2. Yes, that is the extra deck. It is not 15 cards. That was only 12. But if you add the 3rd Miss Starboy and 2 more Virtual World Jajas, you'll have the 15 cards needed for your extra deck. And I've managed to pull out 7,900 damage in a turn with this deck, and I'm very proud of that. Though my friend, who I let rent this deck, managed to pull lethal. Like, sub, and bell, and let me know what you think of common charity penguins in the comments section below. Bye-bye, everybody. It's time for me to put my cards into the box, because I'm done.